Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a massive shakeup in global trade that's got everyone talking. The US has long been a powerhouse in international commerce, but recent moves by Canada, Mexico, and China have flipped the script in a surprising way. How do these countries turn the tables on the US? What does it mean for global markets and your wallet? Grab a coffee, hit that subscribe button, and let's break it down. The US tariff gambit. Let's start with the spark that lit this fire. In early 2025, the US, under President Donald Trump's administration, rolled out a bold and aggressive tariff strategy. The plan? Slap hefty tariffs on imports from major trading partners to boost American manufacturing and address trade imbalances. We're talking 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico, and a staggering 145% on Chinese imports. The White House called these reciprocal tariffs, aiming to level the playing field and bring jobs back to the U.S. The logic was simple: make foreign goods more expensive, so U.S.-made products become the go-to choice. Trump also tied some tariffs to issues like the fentanyl crisis, claiming countries weren't doing enough to stop the flow of precursors. Sounds like a power move, right? But here's where things got messy. Markets went wild. The U.S. stock market lost trillions in value, and fears of a recession spiked. Goldman Sachs pegged the odds of a downturn at 45%. Why? Tariffs don't just hit foreign countries. They raise prices for American consumers and disrupt supply chains. From cars to electronics, everything got pricier overnight. And the targeted countries? They weren't about to sit back and take it. China's defiant response. China, the world's second-largest economy, came out swinging. Beijing slapped a 125% tariff on U.S. goods, effectively pricing American exports like soybeans and tech out of the Chinese market. This was a gut punch to U.S. farmers, who've long relied on China as a top buyer. Remember the last trade war? China shifted to Brazilian soybeans, and history's repeating itself. But China didn't stop there. President Xi Jinping launched a diplomatic blitz, urging countries like the EU, Japan, and Vietnam to resist what he called unilateral bullying by the U.S.-China's commerce minister held talks with the EU, pushing for closer trade ties. They even dangled carrots like better market access, while warning of sticks, retaliatory measures for anyone siding with the U.S. China's messaging was fierce. State media invoked Mao Zedong's never yield rhetoric from the Korean War, signaling they're ready to fight this trade war to the end. And here's the kicker. China's authoritarian system lets it absorb economic pain longer than the U.S. can. While U.S. consumers feel the pinch at the checkout, China's government can prop up its economy with subsidies and state control. The result? Trade between the U.S. and China is practically frozen. Beijing's also cracking down on U.S. services like films and warning its citizens against traveling to America. This isn't just about tariffs anymore. It's decoupling a full-on economic divorce between the world's two biggest economies, Canada and Mexico's strategic pushback. Now, let's talk about America's neighbors, Canada and Mexico. These countries are tied to the U.S. through the USMCA, the trade deal that replaced NAFTA. When Trump hit them with 25% tariffs tied to fentanyl and trade deficits, both nations pushed back hard. But they played a smarter game than just retaliating. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney made a bold move. He declared the old U.S.-Canada relationship, built on tight economic and security ties, over. Instead of folding, Canada turned to Europe and Asia for new trade partners. Carney even hinted at Canada stepping up as a global trade leader if the U.S. won't. That's frankly, a mic drop moment. Mexico, meanwhile, leaned into its manufacturing strengths. President Claudia Sheinbaum worked to keep USMCA-compliant goods tariff-free, protecting Mexico's auto and electronics exports. Mexico also started cozying up to other markets like the EU and Asia to diversify away from the U.S. And here's the genius part. Both countries used the USMCA's rules of origin to shield key industries, making it harder for the U.S. to justify tariffs without breaking the agreement. Small businesses in both countries got creative too. Canadian firms pushed by local campaigns and some Mexican companies pivoted to serve growing domestic markets. This wasn't just about economics, it was about pride and resilience. Canada and Mexico showed they're not just US satellites anymore. The global ripple effect. Here's where it gets wild. Canada, Mexico, and China's moves didn't just hurt the US, they reshaped global trade. Countries like Japan, Taiwan, and the EU started hedging their bets, negotiating with China and each other to avoid getting caught in the US's tariff crossfire. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, which the US ditched years ago, is suddenly looking like a lifeline for Pacific Rim nations. China's outreach paid off. The EU and Asian countries are now weighing deeper ties with Beijing, seeing it as a more stable partner than the US under Trump's unpredictable policies. Even Vietnam, historically pro-US, is warming up to China to counterbalance the tariff chaos. This is a huge blow to America's soft power, its ability to influence through diplomacy and trade. Back home, Americans are feeling the squeeze. Toys, clothes, electronics, anything made in China is getting pricier. US. Companies like Apple and Nvidia got temporary tariff exemptions, but most aren't so lucky. And with Canada and Mexico diverting goods elsewhere, supply chains are creaking. The US economy is staring down a potential recession, and consumers are caught in the middle. What's next? So, where do we go from here? The US is at a crossroads. Trump's paused some tariffs for 90 days, except for China, hoping to negotiate deals. But China's not budging, and Canada and Mexico are playing hardball. Analysts say this could drag on, with decoupling accelerating and global trade fragmenting into rival blocs. For the US, it's a wake-up call. Tariffs might boost some industries, but they're alienating allies and empowering rivals like China. For Canada, Mexico, and China, this is a chance to flex their economic muscle and rewrite the rules of global trade. The question is, who blinks first? That's it for today's deep dive. What do you think? Did Canada, Mexico, and China outsmart the US? Or is this just a temporary setback for America? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more breakdowns of the world's biggest stories. Until next time, stay curious.